Welcome back to the Telosive EV Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Randy is out of the trunk, finally.
Who are you people? I forgot to walk into frame.
It was very noisy back there, but...
And bumpy.
Yeah, at least it wasn't the frunk.
No.
Right, not the frunk.
No, unless it was a Lightning. That would have been more...
A lot more space in the Lightning.
Yeah, that would have been spacious.
But then we have to deal with ads.
Is that... What do you mean?
You
Is
guys
this
not
real?
seen?
No.
Ford just recently has found a way to bring ads to your car. They've patented a certain process in order to put ads on the screen in Ford motor vehicle cars.
You are the chosen one!
They patented it?
They patented it. That's how people found this out.
So, okay, they haven't made a formal announcement?
No formal announcement, but an ad.
What a horrible patent to
place
own.
ad here on a nice little patent filed by Ford Motor Company.
Thank God for Apple CarPlay.
Ugh.
I wonder if it'll take over or go over the Apple CarPlay. It'll just be layers and layers of things.
Oh, bro.
You and I were just talking, giving high praise to Ford as one of the more innovative legacy automobile maker companies to be, willing to grow with the times.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the innovation I was talking about.
It's technically innovative.
No, it's not.
By definition. Has this been done before?
We're already getting it in the Tesla phone app. We get...
Oh, really?
Well, at least I do.
Oh.
I get ads pretty much saying, hey, if you refer this person, you get $500 back.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And, I mean,
The
you can
phone
swipe it
app.
away, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked at the phone app recently since I
Well, they
own my
better
car.
stop doing that because Ford has a patent on it.
Well,
There could be patent infringement.
phone versus car, I guess, in that case.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's probably other ways of doing it without infringing on the patent.
Ugh. Well, I'm actually grateful Ford patented it. Maybe that means no one will copy it. But they're like, oh, we can't.
That's
Ford
the
owns
best case
that.
scenario.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Why would this be something they need to patent? I guess.
Probably in the specific way that they're going to be presenting ads. I mean,
Why are they, Google?
Yeah.
probably.
They probably think they
They're getting up there in terms of... well, Google's still probably rising way up ahead of Ford Motor Company in both stock and assets and everything else.
Yeah.
But at least the way that I think of it is it's a way... Well, we've got screens in all our cars these days.
Oh, yeah.
And so Ford
Big
probably
ones.
saw an opportunity of, we can, I don't know, advertise, hey, you want to get a deal on battery diagnostics or anything like that? Or oil and... I don't even know what else. I was going to say oil and fuel, but that makes no sense. Because,
All right.
But it's probably, I mean, it might not just be straight for EVs. It could
That's true.
also be for gas vehicles.
Buy an EV. Puts right on the screen. No, I'll play devil's
You
advocate.
bought the wrong car. All right. How can you sell this, you disgusting person?
So why do they put ads on anything, right? Like,
Selling services, right?
yeah. Well,
To buy our data.
the better answer I'm looking for is to make something cheaper / free. Like YouTube is free with ads, right? It wouldn't really work if there were no ads. As much as we hate the ads, the site couldn't exist. Like there wouldn't be enough money generated from the traffic. If it went paid only, no one would use it, right? Like
Sure.
the ownership would tank if it went like you have to have premium to use this.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably not doing that, like a free car. But is there a price, and the audience should answer this too, is there a price in which you would tolerate an ad in your vehicle? Like if the vehicle is this affordable, or maybe it just brings down the lease payment a certain amount, that you would start to go, okay, ad is annoying, but if it saves me money because they're getting revenue through other things, maybe it's worth it to someone. I'm reaching. I don't feel confident.
You're going to say you could keep paying what you've been paying for our cars and you're going to get an ad. Or now we're going to have you pay a premium for no ads where ads never existed.
That's more likely.
And I hate that.
It's going to be like Tesla's premium connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
If you pay for premium, then there's no ads. But if you do nothing, we're going to start pushing more ads.
Here's the way I'm thinking of it. Another well-known company, which we mentioned it before, Google, but specifically YouTube,
Yes.
does this already.
Uh-huh.
In which they base a lot of those ads off of what your search history is. So I'm projecting this, but maybe it's based off of location of your vehicle.
That's a good point.
And the businesses nearby that are buying ads on the radio or internet or anything like that.
Yeah.
It pops it up on your screen. Hey, by the way, there's McDonald's around the corner. Do you want to get a McMuffin or something
true.
like that?
Hyper centralized locations.
Like Waze.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah.
What
I
Waze
don't
does.
use it, but sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what Waze does. I'll get a sponsored ad when I come to a stop and I'm no longer in motion, and it'll say, "Hey, Starbucks here. Did you know, by the way, with Starbucks, if you buy one, you also get one when you sign up to our McDonald's. The same thing. Shell, Chevron, all
I
that
hate
stuff."
this world. I hate the world we're in because they're all having these exact same conversations.
It's another screen in front of you.
They're like, not only that, it's a highly specialized, targeted ad campaign. Now, instead of just like what Google does, where they say, do you want to run an ad campaign in this region? You could be like, I want to run an ad campaign on this street. Rather than pay for a billboard, now you can put ads like, when the car gets on this road, it plays this ad, or it gets a pop-up. And I hate this so much. But they're so going to do this. Except Ford patented it, so they can't, right? Is that...
in the way that they are patenting it, which I have to look more into the patent, but...
From the photo that you showed us,
Yeah.
it takes over the whole screen.
It looked like just right on the center console, it's a selected ad, just like right around the vents. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly what everyone would expect.
Yeah. Big
to
pop-up
work.
ad
Big
on your
pop-up.
middle screen.
Right next to the ad on the website. It looked just like the
Right.
ad that's here.
Thanks,
It's a
generic.
free
new-
website,
yeah.
so there you go. But like, to the price question, would you take a free car if it ran ads all the time?
Here's something
Yes.
to add on to it.
Ha!
You don't...
Oh.
Paying for premium connectivity. You weren't doing that before. I think you're doing it now with credits, maybe?
I did with credits because I made a pact that if they added YouTube Music, I was like, that's the GOAT. That's the service I use. I'll do it if it has that. But I haven't been impressed with it, to be honest.
That's my thought, is like... and what you're bringing up before, Randy, is base price, vehicle, whatever, not adding on anything else. You get ads. But if you pay for the premium connectivity, you can... open and close your garage. You can play YouTube music. You can not see ads anymore. It's
If they bundle it now, if you incentivize me with the other stuff and no ads, that's a different conversation.
it just turns into YouTube Premium again.
I like YouTube Premium. I don't like YouTube Premium on cars. A car is
God.
because YouTube is the thing about the ads, at least for me. Here's why it's kind of rubbing me funny. Ads on media consumption makes sense because it's passive.
That's
you're
true.
being passive. Everything. It's a passive relationship you're having with either YouTube, Hulu with ads, Netflix with ads. All these ad things. All that makes sense, and I don't care about the ads like that. But imagine a world. And I know this is not in our lifetime, but imagine like I'm doing some type of workshop, and I have a saw and just. And I'm using the tool, and then the tool just locks and goes bloop. Did you know you can upgrade this tool? There's a new one by
Saw Premium.
So yeah, or not. It's like even a different. What's funny is like, let's say I'm using a local brand, but then the competitor brand comes up on the ad, and I'm like, oh, and like it just hijacks it. An ad on a utility feels icky.
It does.
And a vehicle is a utility,
Especially a moving vehicle where you're supposed to be like paying attention.
but that's the thing. Waze won't show you ads unless you're at a complete stop.
Oh yeah, they could tell. They would know.
They would
speed
know,
and
but
everything.
still, we're using. I kind of tolerate the. Actually, I don't tolerate the ads on Waze, which is why I don't use Waze. I use, unfortunately, I use Google Maps, but I like Apple Maps the most. If they start putting ads like that on there, it kind of blurring the line. If it's passive, maybe I'll be a bit dismissive. I don't really care because in a way, Apple Maps does show us ads when you open, you start zooming in. Some things pop up before others. That is intentional. Before you start really punching in, certain people are paying for certain ads, and people who don't pay for any ads, you won't see until you get to the very, very end.
Yeah.
Of you can't punch it any further. I'm pretty sure it's the UPS store. And then I have to get to the very, very end. Like, oh, there's the UPS store.
That's ads? I didn't know they paid for that.
What they're paying for. Okay.
I didn't know.
As on the developer side, what they're paying for when they put that stuff on the Apple Maps. I don't even know this about Apple Maps. I don't know how Google does it. When you look at the globe, you start punching in, punch it in. Eventually, little things start to come up. Certain things are prioritized, just like in search engines. And same for like if you were going to your search for the in maps and you go restaurants. Certain restaurants will come up before you start punching in, and the ones that you have to really punch in because those are mama and papa shops that don't pay for any ads. But somehow McDonald's is always there. That is because it is a ad-like feature without it saying sponsored or whatever. There's something because I don't know the nuances of it. There is a sponsored-ish thing for utilizing the maps system, the architect of it, but not. I'm trying to target it to Mike and then Drew and then me. It's how you punch in a sense like that. The ads as a utility, it doesn't really bother me because it's very passive. But if and I'm just taking it at face value, it's hijacking the whole screen, and I'm driving, and even if I'm at a stop, frustrating. I don't like any utility being hijacked for ads. It doesn't make sense. It feels icky.
It does.
Something that it says here in the article is that it will limit the amount of ads based off of the mode that you might be in. So like if you're in off-road mode, maybe it's less ads. But then I thought, what if when you go into off-road mode, it just starts throwing ads at you regarding whatever off-road tires or off-road gear and all that. Hey, we noticed that you're all the way out here in Moab. Why not get some, was it skid plates or I forget what they are. Out of, the rescue paddles that you put underneath your wheels when they just keep on spinning in the sand or mud.
Pick them up at the local center.
Right.
It's right here.
Come over here to Ace.
We'll ship them there, or they're already in stock or whatever. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, I've been in the past to gas stations that have ads on the pumps.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're just pressing every single button trying to mute it.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, well, I guess I could see it at a supercharger. Like you plug in and it'd be like, maybe this would be the better way to handle it. It'd be like you plug in at a supercharger, it's this much per kilowatt hour, but then it's less per kilowatt hour with ads to offset.
That's a nice way of putting it back. I don't think they would. We already went to the Electrify America station on the way here. Not because we plugged in, it's just because it was right next to the supercharger.
We haven't talked about this, and I haven't heard the full story either way, but we really haven't talked about your guys' trip.
That was a long
my
time.
first thing is hearing you talk about Electrify America, I'm like, ugh. Fill me in and the audience. The audience. I am the audience right now.
Okay.
How was a multi-day EV trip? Don't leave out the Electrify America part, but just what happened? How did it go? Where do we stand? And has thoughts changed after doing that commute? Go.
It was really weird when Drew pulled up to that one guy's house and I was asleep, and then tried not getting in and couldn't because he wasn't home now.
His name wasn't Quinn Nelson.
Which is weird because he told me the exact same story except that he was naked.
One of us said that. I don't know.
Well, one of us.
I don't know.
No, so Drew picked me up from the Bay Area. We
That was an extra long drive for me.
Yeah,
I had to start at your house, not mine.
Right.
That was a lot.
To be fair, you had work that day.
That's true. I went to Tello, which that video is already live if you haven't seen it. Filmed all that stuff and more stuff that hasn't come out. Then after that, went to your place, had a nice meal, and then left super early in the morning. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was a road you'd already taken, but not in my car before.
Pretty much 90% of it was roads I've taken. Mm-hmm. The last 10% was from...
starting the road trip?
Yeah, so for the road trip, I guess better way to plan it out is, or to spell it out is, we started from the Bay Area up through, North State, Sacramento area, through Tahoe, kind of.
Yeah.
On the road that leads to Tahoe, and then into Reno.
It was beautiful out there.
Yeah.
Those mountains,
and
all the rocks. And,
Right. And then we recorded a podcast around that time as well, in between Reno and Elko, I think, for the EV podcast. And in that, we saw a Tesla Semi on the road that just so happened
just
to appear.
barely see it on camera.
And that was after we passed the Gigafactory Nevada.
It was pretty far past the factory.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that close.
Wait, you visited the factory?
We drove past it.
Oh, okay.
No,
There's no way you can visit the factory. You need to take a road that goes off, and then there's a couple gates before you even get in.
Aren't we allowed to visit as owners? Isn't that a thing?
I think they thought of that, but
I thought that was the thing.
no, I don't think they do. I mean, it had poor reviews. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
There's a pin that says Tesla Semi. I was just editing the video. That's why I remembered. But it said Tesla Semi Factory, and we tapped it, and it was at like 2 stars out of 5. And they were like, horrible, like, way and hard to get in, and terrible logistics.
Horrible parking.
Yeah.
No
Whatever.
place to fill up my tank.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a large charging station there with solar
Right.
cover as well.
Well, there's definitely a mega charger at least for the semis.
I would think there's at least 3.
Yeah, I've seen them filmed there where they park them all and they're plugged in and then they drive off. But yeah,
We saw none passing it, and it was only when like 30 minutes east of it.
yeah.
We then saw one with some test load on it, pretty much a whole bunch of cement blocks.
It was a short one. It wasn't the tall, which I've
Oh.
never
It
seen.
was the one that
whole-
I've had in my notes for so long to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's been like a year and a half since.
And now
it
we
was-
can finally talk about
Yeah.
it.
Well, it was like
Yeah.
a year and a half since it was first spotted. And I was
Right.
going to bring it up like a year and a half ago, but so many topics over the last year and a half that it just
Right.
never came to be a topic until we saw it.
They must have been range testing it
Probably.
because the blocks don't need to go anywhere, I'm guessing.
No, it's just giant
Not-
cement blocks.
Not
but,
that direction.
yeah.
It wasn't going towards the Fremont factory. So
No, I'm pretty sure it was going into that rest area to then turn around back
Yeah.
to the Gigafactory.
yeah, wanted to see how far they could get it. So that was a perfect time to podcast because it was just empty, vast.
That's what we planned because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool, like beautiful trees. It's a road that Drew hasn't been on before, so
Yeah, that
we
was
were
fun.
admiring everything in the Tahoe area.
Yeah.
And then we get past Reno, it's just desert.
Right. Right.
I wish I could appreciate Tahoe. Literally every time I've ever passed by, there was a fire.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
Every
There's a good chance.
time. I've never actually seen Tahoe
I haven't either.
ever.
No, it's
We passed by.
bizarrely.
it. Not
And it's funny,
into
it's like why when you get out there and cross the border and I get into Reno, like it's not fire and everything's clear. I'm like,
I hear about it so much. It's very close by to us.
Yeah.
Yet I've never been there. Been to Thailand, but not Tahoe. We've just never
same but different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right there, but anyway, it was a scenic route.
You were surprised with the amount of superchargers in that area, though. I kept on pointing
Yeah.
them out as well. Like,
There were-
there's one at this Chevron. There's one
Right.
in Soda Springs.
We
there's-
passed many.
Yeah.
Even though we're in the standard range Tesla, it was not like we were barely making it to each stop. Like we had options along the way, even though my range now at full is less than 260.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got winter tires on the front still. So that's not good for your range. But we made it, so
Yeah.
we lived. I mean,
So in the first day, we went all the way from Bay Area to Salt Lake City.
right.
And the
Yeah.
portion of road that I have not been on is past Elko, which is like on the northeastern corner of Nevada.
Right, right.
Which there's nothing out there pretty much. There's some settlements, of course, but
Yeah, it was
beautiful
pretty
towns.
dead.
Anyways,
Nevada's like 80% federal land.
probably yeah.
No, yeah, it is. It's
Oh,
it's
well, there we
weird.
go.
So like when you're saying it's like you guys have to just drive by. Like I'm hearing you tell this for day one. I'm like, God, it sounds so literal dry because desert, but also like you can't really do anything and you can't see anything because people aren't allowed to build out there because that's government land.
There's some plots of land that they allocate for people, but it's like
I feel like
it's out in the
charging
middle of
or
nowhere.
filling up your tank too has to be a thing. You
Yeah.
guys were talking about the all these multiple charging stations, and you had told me, and so I want you to kind of elaborate a little bit more that even though with all these charging stations, evidently you're going to the slowest charging stations.
That was on day
Oh,
2,
yeah.
pretty much.
Well, I think it started on the second half of the first day. Once we got to, it was past Winnemucca.
I like how you remember the name. I always struggle with it.
Winnemucca. Who was it? Johnny Cash.
Cash.
Yeah, he has a song about Winnemucca. Or
Mm.
He's been everywhere, but that's when it started hitting the V2s. But I don't think there was any other choice on the first day. That was the only charger.
No, but to be fair, we didn't really have much going on,
Right.
and it still seemed pretty quick. We stopped, went
Yeah.
to the bathroom,
Yeah.
stretched, and all that.
Were the rest stops nice for you guys?
3 of them were pretty much the same layout. They used
Yeah.
the same fencing to hide the cabinets,
Yeah.
and then they had about 6
Yeah.
charger stalls.
Looked like the exact
dispensers.
same crew was just stopping by and plopping the same charging equipment.
Pretty much.
We're like, they planned for this route. For
Winnemucca and, what was it? The one that's right before you go through the border between Nevada and Utah.
I forget the name. Yeah. It
Yeah.
wasn't super memorable. All I know is the chargers kept stopping us at places where you couldn't fly the drone.
Every single place that we went to, I go to, because I brought my DJI
Yeah.
Mavic Mini 2 or whatever, and I thought, oh, we'd get some nice aerial shots. I think the only place I got an aerial shot that day was Winnemucca. It didn't have anything go
West
well.
Wendover and Wendover.
It was Wendover.
I think it was
believe,
that. Yeah.
There's a big lake.
Right before you hit the Salt Flats.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
a big airport there as well.
It's
so
right before the time change, too, right?
Yep.
Is it right on that border?
So
Yeah.
it's like 10 minutes after leaving that charger, the hour changed.
That's what confused you a little bit as well.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what happened?
Are we supposed to get there at 8, but this says 7, and
Yeah.
then time changed. Oh, 8.
Yeah, it moved up. So, yeah, I mean...
It was a decent... it was like maybe 7 stops.
The Great
Yeah,
Salt Lake
that
Desert.
sounds right, about 7.
Yeah, Salt Lake. That was the other part that I didn't see Salt Lake proper, the fields, before getting, I guess, to the Great Salt Lake, and then you're in Salt Lake City.
Right.
I've been in Salt Lake City. I've gone north-south.
Yeah.
But I've never gone east-west, so that was
the
fun part for me is not going between Elko and Salt Lake City. That was all unknown to me, and then the second day, which we'll get to, was also a little bit of an unknown path.
Right.
Did you
No, I
like
definitely
going east-west more than north-south, or which? Asking for a friend, if I was to do this commute,
What's the best way?
North-south is the best in my opinion because you get all of the beautiful red rocks that is Utah.
Yeah.
say less.
That's true.
All right.
Though you were a lot more favorable for Nevada after the second day when we were in Wyoming.
Right. Yeah, Nevada had at least some mountain ranges in the distance to look at. There were some rock formations. There was that tunnel. There was some stuff to look around at, but not Wyoming. Oh, there was nothing. There was no elevation in sight.
Oh, you guys were on the 80 the whole time?
I think so.
Yes,
most
until we got to, I think, Laramie.
Uh-huh.
That's when we split off and then went on whatever it was. But yeah, the beautiful stuff was in darkness, unfortunately, because we left Salt Lake City around like 5:30.
Yeah.
And it was all dark. You could see the stars clear as day and all
Right.
that. Like, it was beautiful, but you see silhouettes of beautiful hills. Or
Right.
like,
You could tell it must have looked good.
Some
but it
inclines.
was dark.
yeah, it was dark as heck, and so you couldn't see. And then by the time we get out of that, daylight hits, and it's just plains as far as the horizon.
The fun parts of Wyoming is on the north side.
I believe.
Yep.
That's
we found the
Yellowstone.
not fun.
Yeah.
We found whatever wasn't fun. But Wyoming made me realize what some of these commenters have been saying about why EVs don't make sense there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was starting to see gas under $3 a gallon. And we walked up to that Electrify America station right by our supercharger. And it was 64 cents a kilowatt hour.
Mm-hmm.
I have never.
I've never even seen a supercharger in the Bay that high. I don't know if you
50
have.
cents is probably the one that screams out to me as peak hours.
Yeah, normally that's the most I've seen. It's 55, 57. Maybe if I'm in LA during peak hours, I've seen 60, 61, but never 64. That, especially in the middle of nowhere. This was not during peak hours.
No, I could fly my drone there as well.
Right. We actually got footage
There's
of it.
nothing to see, though.
Yeah, I mean, it was just
There's
like,
one hill.
yeah, nothing. But,
You can see how outrageous these prices were.
right.
There's
and-
one Rivian charging there.
And that guy,
We got in, he was
That poor
there.
man.
We charged up to everything that we needed, and then we left, and he was still there.
so I'm sure he wasn't getting great speeds. I mean, Rivians don't get great speeds in general, but paying 64 cents to fill up a battery that big
And gas is that cheap.
and gas is that cheap, I'm like,
What surprised me as well, I guess I forgot on the first day, or was it the first or second day, I saw a Lightning towing
right.
a trailer out in Wyoming. I guess it was the second
Yeah.
day. It was just out in the middle of nowhere, and I was very surprised. I think I maybe called it out either
Yeah,
in
you
the
did.
podcast or something
In the vlog,
else.
you mentioned it.
Yeah,
right?
but probably in the vlog. It was
Uh-huh.
it was weird seeing that. I was
We were
thinking,
just
where are you
like,
charging.
is he okay? Like, what is he doing? Like, because we knew how long the stretches were between our supercharging stops, and he doesn't get those.
And the ones that were stopping are V2.
Yeah.
That's why we're saying it was surprising, because
Yeah.
I don't think Lightnings can charge at V2s, right?
No, V2s have a different communication protocol from V3, which is why we're pretty confident from what I've heard that V2s will never be open to non-Teslas. They are permanently Tesla-only chargers unless they do some big retrofits or I don't think they will. So I'm like, we don't even have that many options out here, and he's towing, so we know his range is half of ours probably, or close to half.
Sure.
Because the Lightning doesn't have that big a battery.
There was also a lot of incline that he was going up.
Yeah.
We were going down for a while.
No, the best Lightning still only gets like 320 miles of range.
Yeah.
So cut that in half. Yeah. I was
160.
I was worried for him. I was like, I hope there's EA stations I don't know about because he's going to need them out here.
We weren't trying to find them.
No.
In fact, I was very surprised that we were hitting a lot of V2s. Mm-hmm. But we were getting in and out in decent time.
Yeah. No, I mean, the charging curve of LFP, I mean, you've road tripped with a long range Y and now an LFP3. Would you say there's a noticeable difference in charge time, or do they feel pretty similar?
Somewhat equivalent.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I've road tripped in the Y.
Yeah, sure.
But though I guess daily usage, even charging at a V3,
yeah,
it still felt the same.
Yeah. I mean, you've got more battery, so you could be there longer to fill up higher, but...
We were racing for a while, or not racing, on the first day. We
Yeah.
got to a charger, I think it was in Winnemucca. Or maybe it was before that.
Oh, that's right.
We stopped, and then... No, it was. It was in... it was past Reno.
Fernley?
It was probably Fernley.
Fernley is when we started racing another Tesla.
2 Teslas, technically.
So we knew because they had a very special wrap.
It was a gray wrap on it.
Kind of, what's it called? Iridescent.
I don't know if it was iridescent.
It kind of changed colors.
Yeah, iridescent.
Or pearlescent.
A little bit,
is another
yeah.
way to put it. But it was a matte gray with maybe a little bit of sheen. Model 3, and then there was also a gray Model Y that came after him. And then we kept on going to the next charger.
Did you guys win?
We kept on, it was like... So when we first got to the Fernley one, they came maybe a couple minutes after us.
Yeah, almost the same time they plugged in.
About 5 minutes.
So that was a good gauge of like, okay, we're racing now. We didn't know where he was going.
We also didn't know what types of...
Who cares?
What
It's
type
a
of
race,
3-year-old?
baby.
Well, I mean, he had attachments for days. It looked like a performance to me.
Yeah.
I guess it could have been a standard range.
His
But
side view mirrors were custom as well.
yeah, he had the giant...
His rims were custom as well, so you
I
couldn't
think
I don't
see.
know about the rim.
I think
Maybe
they
so.
were, but
I mean, that's a good indicator if it's a performance.
the
or not.
spoiler was really big. He could have just totally souped up a 2019
I think he did.
standard range because we went back on the road, obviously,
From
Fernley
to Winnemucca.
to Winnemucca, and then he pulled in a little bit later.
About 2/3 through our charge, he pulled up.
Yeah, we were almost done, and then he pulled in.
Yeah,
and
you guys
we
were
were like,
winning.
hey.
And then we
remember
get to
you.
West Wendover, I think. No,
It was Elk something.
Elk something. In between Winnemucca and
Uh-huh.
West Wendover, there's another place where we got lunch.
That was a V2, and it was packed, so we only got 72 kilowatts. It was not very fast, but we had time to run and grab lunch. And I think, just as we were unplugging,
It's about 2 minutes before we left.
he
Him
pulled
and-
in.
and the other-
And
You
we're
were
like, hey.
substantially winning.
Yeah. So it was like...
Did you wave at him? Did you guys realize what was happening?
no.
Maybe for you, it's like it's another Model Y, or not a white Model 3.
Mm-hmm.
But for you guys, like
Yeah.
He did have good taste in clothing. He was very well dressed for this drive.
Yeah, we were not. I mean,
I
was
dress for
not.
comfort.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You look great today.
Well, today
Yeah.
it's my meet-iversary with my wife, so we're going.
Meat-iversary.
Yeah, I gotta dress up a little bit, but that day was like, I'm gonna be eating popcorners in the driver's seat for
Yeah.
15 hours. I don't care how I look. So
I guess the last indicator was right before we went over the Salt Lake at West Wendover.
Uh-huh.
We were just about done, and he came in as well. That
That's
one was
right.
also busy. There's like a
Yeah.
cyan Model Y there as well.
oh, they were fighting.
Yeah,
There were 2 Model Ys waiting to plug in, and we were about done, and we were like,
Bye.
boys,
Please.
you probably think I'm about to unplug, don't you? That was actually, I was
You
looking
have to
at.
pay extra for me to unplug.
No, they were quick. As soon as we pulled out, one of them was like,
I think it was the cyan one.
"Yeah, the Sion."
He had someone else with him as well, a guy in a pickup truck.
I was looking at the charge stats for the day, and I think that's the most electricity I've ever pulled
Really?
in a day. Because normally when I road trip to my parents' place, I plug in at their house, but it's a 110.
Sure.
So it's very little at the end of the day. I usually pull in dead and then start charging, 1 kilowatt very slowly. But on this one, after we got checked into the finest hotel in the West,
Sarcasm if you didn't get that.
It's a huge sarcasm. I went to the supercharger to top off to 100 to make sure that we could leave with a full charge in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I checked the app. It was 244 kilowatt hours.
Wow.
In one day.
That's like one Hummer.
Oh, yeah. That's. I didn't think of it that way. I was thinking it's 4 cycles.
Okay.
We extracted 4 cycles out of my battery.
You just aged your car by 4 cycles.
I don't.
And that was on the way here.
Yeah.
Well, in one day.
Yeah,
right?
all in a less than 24-hour period. Yeah.
And then there's the second day going all the way from Salt Lake City to Colorado, which was then, I think it was less than the distance and time that we did on the first day.
It wasn't it was like 200 kilowatt hours, but it wasn't quite 240, which is like, I thought that was a lot. I tweeted out, I was like, what's the most you've ever used? And someone else beat me immediately. They were like 400 kilowatt hours in one day. I was like, well, what kind of Tesla is it? I was like, if it's a Cybertruck, that's probably not that hard. And he said, no, it's a long range Y. He just didn't stop.
Just kept going.
He did a 28-hour drive.
Oh, jeez.
He just didn't sleep. And I was like, oh.
Well, I don't have that type of stamina no more. I can't do that.
No, that's pretty exhausted.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But no, can't recommend the hotel we stayed at. That was sketchy.
But our idea was get in, get out.
Yeah, we weren't going to be there long.
It wasn't enjoy the fluffiest pillows or the amenities nearby.
The finest hotel in the West.
Impressively slow Wi-Fi. I was genuinely like, wow, I didn't know they made Wi-Fi like this anymore. I thought we're in a major city. They probably have fiber everywhere. And I did a speed test. It couldn't hit 1 megabit. It was measured in kilobits. And I was like, wow, this is
impressively bad.
I didn't realize you could get internet this bad. But yeah, we pulled in late, left early. So we figured don't go all out in a place you're not going to be in for very long.
And we got here in decent time. Didn't take us too long.
We got here around 3, got him out of the trunk and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very uncomfortable road trip. I don't know what was going on, but I didn't feel safe that night.
Yeah. But the last point I'll make about the EA, just to give you a stark contrast, is it was 64 cents at EA, but the supercharger,
the V2 that we're at,
the V2 was, I want to say, 34 cents.
It was basically half or close to half.
Can you imagine being on a road trip and one gas station is like $6 a gallon and the other one is $3?
Wyoming.
No, they don't. None of the gas was $6. I mean, people will go to Costco to save like 50 cents on a gallon, whereas here it's like so drastically different. Not to mention one is super unreliable. Those cables were huge too. They were like.
Well, yeah, because it has to accommodate different sized vehicles as well. Different shapes.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not surprised those stations are more expensive.
Yes.
Because you can tell, like, it's got this big old screen, it's really tall, all this high voltage wiring, and they've got little strings to hold them.
Little tension strings.
Yeah, so you can pull it around, and I was like, no wonder these places are so expensive. Jeez. Whereas this supercharger's like, how short can we make the cable?
Here's a fat, short cable. Get as close as possible.
Yeah, you don't need much more than 3 feet, right? That should be enough. And they're all backed. Like, there were several superchargers where it looked like
I didn't notice that.
They'd been backed into. The dispensers are like pushed over, but they work, which I think is how they should be done. You make it cheap, but it works. It's just it functions and. I could tell some Cybertruck had backed in.
She ain't the prettiest girl at the party, but she can sure dance.
Someone backed in with the Cybertruck and just knocked
I almost
it
saw
over.
that happen the other day. The day before the road trip started, there's a Cybertruck that pulled in at the same supercharger I was at right before work. And he got pretty close. I was just thinking, how do you back that thing into a supercharger?
They're too dang big. I'm biased, but they're too dang big.
We saw one nearby your house here when we came back from a Target.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And it was
Was it wrapped?
It was wrapped blue hexagons, pretty
What?
much, or turquoise hexagons.
Every day I'm hearing a new different.
It was an ad, though. It was bad.
Yeah.
It looked horrendous. I didn't like it at all.
That's probably one of the worst ones I've seen. The best one I've seen is all white, and then it's got the logo on it.
Yeah.
I seen one of those floating around here. I was telling you guys that I'm seeing so many Cybertrucks out here now.
Yep.
Which is weird for me because I'm like, ooh, I don't feel like it would be seen here. I expect that in Denver. But I also noticed that the Cybertruck, each Cybertruck I've seen, but with the exception of one, has some type of decal on it or some type of overall like sticker on it. Because
I saw
it's
them joking about it on Twitter. Wes is like, the engineer for the Cybertruck is like, working really hard to make sure there's no logos and it's as clean as possible. Everybody, QR code, Instagram plug.
because the Cybertruck is the advertisement. That's the eye-catchy part. I'm like, dang.
It's just they've made some of them so bad.
I like that you said that because also, when we were getting close to your house, we supercharged.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw pretty much every single Tesla except for the Roadster. So we pulled in, there was a 3Y and an S in the same row as us.
Uh-huh.
And then later an X pulled in, but just right before that, a Cybertruck backed in. And then not like a minute or two later, another Cybertruck pulled in.
So there were two charging right in front of us, and we're like, this is what the future is like. We're just going to be surrounded by them
Yeah.
if this production keeps up at this
There was
rate.
a nice guy, though, at the charger as well.
Yeah, that was kind of wholesome, wasn't it?
He was Turoing, I think, or
Yeah, he'd never driven one.
he Turoed a long-range Model Y.
You could tell because he didn't know where the charge port was. He
So-
backed in next to us, and he's like,
Well,
looking around.
I saw movement out of the corner, and I'm like, what's
Yeah.
going on? And then I see this guy trying to take the cable to the back side of the Y. I was thinking,
what are you doing?
what are you doing? And then he was trying to pull it further to go to the further side of the Y on the back right. I'm just like, no. Open the door. Hey, the port's hidden right there. And he's like, where? I'm like,
Where?
on the quarter panel.
Yeah.
So my coolest charging experience, not even close to you guys have seen every single Tesla.
Yeah.
And I think I sent this to you guys. I don't know, but I'll put next to the mic just in case.
You have to ask yourself,
You have to ask yourself.
Rivian Yellow or Cybertruck?
Oh, you had both.
So you have
Dang.
to ask yourself,
Compass
Yeah.
yellow.
Rivian
So
There
there's
you
the
go.
Rivian Yellow. I was just excited
It's
to see
beautiful.
Compass Yellow in person,
Oh,
to
it's
be honest.
cool. I love
and
it.
then Cybertruck. And that was my first... why I document this because that was the very first... So that was actually up in Denver, on the south side of Denver.
Uh-huh.
But that was my first Cybertruck I saw with like no sticker, no decal. Like, okay, this is privately owned. No one's doing it.
Fingerprints and all.
Yeah, fingerprints on, and
You could see him from miles
and I
away.
could see the
Doesn't
guy
age
struggling to charge the Cybertruck.
Because the cable can't reach, or he doesn't know where the
So
port is.
actually,
It's hidden in the fender.
Yeah.
let's
Or
see
the
if we
wheel
can.
They do say they intentionally try to hide the charge ports.
I'm going to try my
Which
best.
is nice for a design perspective, but as you and I both
Right
could
there.
see-
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So
Oh yeah, he parked wrong. That's that's one of those mobile ones. I know.
So
what
he's
that
supposed to pull in.
I know
to the
exact- I
charger
charged
so that
there.
He, backed
he
in.
struggled, and then at this exact location.
Yeah, because that's the one by the airport. When
Yes,
I picked
that's-
up my
yeah.
wife. It's they're those mobile kind.
Yes.
It's a big mega pack
Okay.
battery.
and
Oh.
right
With a
on the
charger
other
next to
side.
it.
Oh, it doesn't show. Hang
So
on.
they're the kind that can just drop off when
Right.
they need more stalls.
Wait, what happened? Okay, so
There's one like that. near
so he
us.
pulled out. There's one right. Oh, too soon.
This is gonna be real fun for video watchers and audio listeners.
Well, I'm talking. Why I'm trying to touch this because like the layout, I guess after the fact, is confusing.
Sure.
Not for me because back passenger, I'm driving a 3 or a Y, whichever one it was. But that one,
No, you're
that,
right.
that one right. There's one right there, and then you got
Yep.
this one, right, and this guy's struggling. The Cybertruck.
Because
on YouTube.
he backed in when he was supposed to pull forward.
Exactly. And so then he he pulls forward again, and
But
he
no.
proceeds to get over here.
No.
So he kept going the wrong way,
Oh,
and I'm just
no.
like, so about that Compass Yellow. Right?
Yeah, the Rivian might have actually fit better on that one.
I felt bad for the guy. I wanted to go help him, but I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing with your car. I can't help you. But everyone's watching him just struggle because everyone's like, he's too big. Like people have to try to avoid him, and he's just struggling.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
No, that's honestly my biggest complaint with it. I really don't mind the design. I like the way it looks. I like the eye-catchingness.
Sure,
I love the
yeah.
steer-by-wire. I got to test drive one again last week.
Again?
Yeah, with Mike Barth, because I promised him, remember when we went to the Owners Club meetup? I promised him, like, hey, we could go check out a Cybertruck.
That's right. There's
And they never showed up. I was like, sorry, Mike, I thought they would be here. But then they started offering Cybertruck test drives to everybody now.
Right.
So
okay.
I said, let's both schedule one so that we can maximize our time with it. I'll book one for this time, and then you book one for the
You
next time.
were able to book one. Interesting.
Anybody, yeah. And they were available that day.
Okay, so I tried looking for this. I think it was the day of that it released.
Okay.
And so it just wasn't in my area somehow.
Yeah.
Or the option just wasn't there. It was just the sexy lineup.
It is a busier area, but
Yeah.
where I live, it was like next hour. They were like, oh, do you want to do one right now? Like, you could walk in and test drive
Snoring. Sorry.
It's cute. So we got to test drive it again, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's just too dang big, and they built in as many tricks as they
Cybertruck's too
can.
dang bad for you?
For me.
You're biased.
Is that a surprise?
Of course, a
Even
Model
Mike
3 is
Barth,
too big for you now.
Even Rivian Mike was like, you know,
Is
they
he
tried
still-
to make it really agile.
He doesn't have a Rivian.
Yeah, is he still Rivian Mike if he doesn't have a Rivian?
He owns-
I know you watch these YouTube. Rivian Mike, are you still Rivian Mike or what?
He's got a lot of Rivian stock,
You're Rivian Mike, and I respect
and
you.
he's paid the price.
Hey, come on!
I mean, he's owned more Rivian than either of us. but the analogy he used was they're trying to make it as agile as possible with the four-wheel steering and the steer-by-wire, but it's kind of like having a really agile elephant.
Okay.
So he doesn't like the Cybertruck either?
He was like, nah, it's
too
he
much.
said, I wouldn't trade my Ram for this.
You still have to fit the elephant places. pretty
Right.
much.
He said, I wouldn't,
He wouldn't trade his RAM for it either.
No.
even if there was no money involved, and they just said, we'll give you a Cybertruck of any spec for your Ram.
I
He
would
said he wouldn't
Probably
do it.
not. Only
Yeah.
because looking at the maintenance costs for the Y and the Ram right now,
Oh, yeah.
the Ram is winning.
Yeah. Your
But
Y
the
is
gas. Like, is it really winning for cost? Oil.
It might be pretty close.
on maintenance.
They're both around
Yeah.
the same mileage right now. And so the Ram's actually supposed to go in for timing belt and a whole bunch of
I
other
know this
stuff
is an
coming up.
EV podcast, but I'm going to ask you very honestly, which one do you enjoy driving more?
Oh, the Y.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I mean, besides right now with the suspension making a lot of noise, wife's texting
Always
me.
something with your car.
There's always something. The wife was texting me saying
Got
the
bad
noise is
luck.
getting louder on the front right now.
Uh,
I was just thinking that the Ram has had no issues.
Yeah.
There has been zero issues. We took that thing all the way across the country and back. No issues. The Y is driven only in the city and then down to LA and up to Northern California and a little bit into Reno.
Yeah.
control arms.
The problem is that it's an early build. So
There's
I'm not
probably
saying
some truth to that.
electric vehicle bad. gas
It's
vehicle
you. You're the reason. You're my lesson. You're the reason why I won't do an early build for anything anymore.
good. Let me be the lesson
Yeah,
for
I
everyone
don't know
here.
though, because like I don't think there was the problems you're having are not what I would expect from an early build. It's the kind of thing that like control arms and suspension
Well,
don't change that much.
It started with the hatch not being aligned right, and so
That's
instead
true.
of
That was a problem.
fixing it, they just replaced it.
Right.
Because it was starting to rub against the body, and that was in the first
Yeah.
100 miles plus or whatever. And then second major thing was the control arm, I would say. The control arm, the
And
upper
that's a
control
very
arm.
common problem.
Yes, that's
not-
being seen on everything.
You're not alone.
What
in
are
that
we talking
regard.
about with the controllers?
So there's what looks to be like a horseshoe shaped with like a knuckle on it that connects from the body to the suspension in a way, or at least has a lot of
I'll pull one up.
yeah.
Is this visible to us?
You can look for it. Yeah, it's in there.
Not super, but yeah.
But
you
pretty
can-
much, I don't know if I probably talked about this on the podcast. Pretty much, some of the Tesla engineers did not logically think with the windshield how water drains out of it.
Right.
It doesn't just go up and over or off to the side. It
Right.
can go down, and there's supposed to be some drainage paths in there. Well, it just so happens that
Right
drainage path is
I see
right
it.
on the upper control arm for Teslas.
So all the water just trickles.
It goes right onto that joint between the upper control arm and the rest of the assembly below, and it wears down and makes that thing squeaky. And I mean, it's not a huge issue from what a lot of the service guys was telling me. It's just noisy. It sounds terrible.
I remember you turning your steering wheel and it was like...
It was terrible.
But sadly, it is still... They haven't changed that design, from what I can tell.
What they were reassuring me with is that they... Well, I feel like he was saying the opposite. He was saying they changed the design, or at least did something different with the stack-up.
Okay.
So that way water could not intrude on that joint. But you were telling me on the road trip someone went through 2 of them.
Yeah, I talked to someone online that said they had a 2019 build, so kind of close to yours, a little older. And after 50,000 miles...
I was flirting with the camera.
Oh, okay.
Anybody watching on YouTube, I was flirting with them. I was like,
hello. So he hit 50,000 miles, needed a new one, same problem. And they assured him, and this was in 2022, that he got the new one. And they claimed, we fixed the problem, so it should last a lot longer now. Like, it shouldn't be an issue. And then he just recently hit, in 2024, 150,000 miles.
Very abnormal. Well, maybe not abnormal, but more than the average.
Much more mileage, and it went bad again. So this is his second control arm. But the good news is they're not a crazy expensive part.
I was about to ask.
No, but mine was out of warranty, right?
Yeah.
Which I kind of
Right
hate.
after basic warranty.
I hate that. I hate that they've basically designed it to be like, make sure it outlasts the warranty, but not much.
And that's the thing I
what
didn't
his
like
failed.
about it.
Yeah.
And now the suspension on the front right is having issues. Right at like 10,000 miles after the basic warranty.
Right, yeah.
Like if it was happening before, it was way after, I'd be like, okay,
Sure.
that's fine. I've been driving the car a lot. But
I'm a little more forgiving at like 150,000 miles.
it's just been so many different things that have been happening with this early build Model Y. I'm just like...
And what he told me he thinks they did is they just made the control arms have a little bit more rubber sealant.
Okay.
I don't think they've repositioned where the drainage is.
No.
They've just tried to make it a little bit more watertight, which made it last for him 100,000, but not
more.
indefinitely, which a lot of cars never have upper control arm replacements. Like, I've never done that on my Sonata. That's at like 200,000 miles.
No.
It's a gas car. I don't know. Maybe it's different because it's a heavy EV, but it's a weird... There must be some cost-cutting advantage to it. I don't know why else they would do that.
Same reason why we don't have the arm grip thing.
Oh, the OS handle.
Yeah. Well, does this experience like turn you off?
Oh,
from...
shoot.
Right. That's what I wanted to ask you on the podcast was like, after all these, because you were telling me how bad the customer service communication is.
Oh, yeah. They were supposed to call me last week. They just didn't.
Right.
After many messages.
And you explained the problem.
I explained the problem. They're
and
like,
they don't address it.
yeah, they're like, well, it's going to cost you like $4,000 then. I'm like, first of all, this thing was supposed to have been, like, one of the items on this service ticket, one of them was supposed to be done in the past service, and they said, we'll do it on the next time you come in for service. And it'll be free. But then they said, actually, no,
and now
it's
they
not.
want their money back.
Now they want the money. And then some of the other things, it's like, no, that's not what's happening. Here's what's going on. And then, like, some of the items are like, this will be in good faith just to educate the customer. It's just like tires. Like,
oh yeah, you were having a tire tread.
I'm on my third set of tires. I think we talked about it 2 podcasts ago, where you got new tires on the 3 and I got new tires on the Y. I'm now getting tread warning.
Where it says you need to rotate the tires, and they're like brand new.
Yeah.
They definitely, you can see the tread on the tires. They're not, you don't need to rotate them.
You can look at all 4 of them. They all look new, spick a span, and there's a warning every single time I park at work or at home. It says, low tread warning, please rotate tires or see a service center. And so I
explained that to them.
I explained that to them
Yeah.
in the messaging service, and they said, well,
clearly you just need to rotate your tires.
we're getting some of that Colorado
You notice how
storm going on.
the clouds came in so much, now you can't even see.
Yep.
It's slowly working its way over here.
I'm going to get a car wash.
Me, I was like, here it goes.
Randy did this on purpose. Usually he
Right.
blocks out this window, or at least we did on the tech podcast.
I want you guys to get some Colorado experience out here.
Cover the control arms.
Anyways,
Yeah.
he didn't understand what I was saying, I guess. And he was just like, we'll educate you on why you need to rotate your tires.
He thought he was complaining that...
Or like, oh, are you
I
sure
don't know
those
what that
tires were
means.
new from America's Tire or whatever? I'm like, I know they are because the guy messed up and put them on a different Model Y that day, which I already explained on this podcast.
Yeah.
Now I'm not remembering. So yeah, that's been. Anyways,
That's terrible.
the Y's been a headache, but
It's been much more needy, ironically,
yeah,
than the gas vehicle.
yes, which is something my wife has noted, and I agree with.
Yeah, it's hard to argue.
Which is why if someone was at Tesla or someone else said, "Hey, here's a Cybertruck, but I'm going to take your Ram," I'd probably say no.
Yeah.
Thinking
you-
about now.
You use it for towing
Yeah,
and
hauling.
and range. And the same thing with Rivian Mike. He's like, yeah, you don't worry about range with that truck because
No.
it's a 36-gallon tank. So I'm sure it costs a lot, but I mean, so does a Cybertruck. So, you can pay a lot of gas and not hit the price of a Cybertruck.
Panels flying off because it's only glued on, and
That's a weird. You can feel it on any Cybertruck. You can go up on that little top, the
the
peak of it. You can pull on the little edges, and it's like, yeah, that's just glue. It's not bolted on. It doesn't scream durability.
So don't take a gun to it or a sledgehammer or.
Well, just don't peel it. That's,
Yeah, the doors, yeah, you can wail on those, but the top piece, yeah, that thing.
the trim
It's like
piece that goes from the kind of like where the repeater cameras are. It goes
Yeah.
up on the side of the vehicle above the windows and then
Can peel
back
right
down.
off.
Yeah, you can just peel that thing right off.
Man, I remember for the long.
All three of us, all four of us at the time.
What?
You, me, Nick, Drew were just like, the Cybertruck's gonna be the best thing ever.
And I
Yeah.
remember, I was the only one for so long to have seen it in person. I'm like, guys, this is the future. Now I haven't seen one
promised too much.
since. Yeah. And you guys, I just hear one after another and after. And then Nick would word about the Cybertruck. Nick was right.
Valid concern.
But I don't know. If I was approached to trade in for a Cybertruck, I know you don't care for the strategy, but I would turn around and sell it. I would take it and sell it.
Oh yeah, well that's different. I mean, that takes it outside the. Do you want $100,000? That's basically what
Yeah.
the question becomes if you're willing to sell it. But
Yeah.
If it's
Like-
worth that,
yeah, you probably wouldn't get that.
you might
much.
get 80,
Yeah.
90.
At this point, people aren't paying.
You're seeing all the
Six
wonderful
figures.
things now.
Well, is this
Was the Rust thing real? Was that actually a thing, or was
That is a thing. It's just,
I think it was overblown.
yes,
kind of like Jellygate?
like most things.
Yeah, I mean, all vehicles have. they
You've
can
never
get-
once complained about Jellygate on this thing.
No.
Overblown.
Yep, I agree. I don't think
Okay.
most people would notice.
Well, I'm
but
also not looking for it.
I like.
You have to look
But
for it.
that's my point, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah.
if we pixel peep on anything, you could. I was doing it with. You showed me something. I was like, I'm pixel peeping on purpose.
The phone.
The
old
phone,
Android phone.
the old Android phone. Like if you try to find something, you will find something. I suspect that's the same with Cybertruck as Jellygate on the iPad. But
Surface rust is a thing on all vehicles.
All
that
things.
could happen.
Yeah.
On the Cybertruck, it's a bigger surface.
It's a bigger issue because
It's all.
it's exposed metal, even though it's
Yeah.
rust or corrosion
exoskeleton.
because it's rust and corrosion resistant doesn't mean that it's impervious.
No.
That's why you put a wrap on it, like these,
Yeah.
the ones that have ads on it, and you're actually protecting it while providing your business
Right.
some advertisement money.
What
Yeah.
was
Service, I guess.
Mike and I did
potential.
an EV without you once, and we were talking about the rusting thing, and you laughed. You told me you had laughed at me the whole like. I don't think rust means what I think it means. And I was trying to wrap my head about
Well, I
what's
think everyone
happening.
was visualizing that, like, within a year, these things would just be, like, completely rusted out and falling apart. And I haven't seen evidence of that.
It hasn't been a year.
Unless
No.
it's hanging out in Michigan for a whole year.
I know
Why
there's people
Michigan?
that...
Salt?
Salt
Yeah.
and inclement weather.
I don't think it grows at the rate people are assuming for those videos. It's
maybe
like
Utah's better.
you wipe it off when it's bad. You know, you keep it clean, but a very similar thing can happen to any other car, and you just pay a little bit more attention, I guess, because there's no paint. But I haven't seen anyone that's like, oh, the whole thing fell. I'm more worried about that peak piece falling off.
Yeah.
I think there's bigger problems than the rust, but
With the whole accelerating pedal thing.
yeah.
That was worrisome.
Yeah, my wife
Riveted
was not
that.
happy about that.
Yeah. I think I think they're going to quickly run out within the next year or two of people willing to pay for the Foundation series.
Right.
And then they're going to, similar to what they did with the Y, drastically start cutting prices. Because I do think that is, at least at the manufacturing level, it is probably the cheapest electric truck to make.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it compared to a Rivian with
Not
all
to
its
buy.
bells and whistles. Yeah, not right now to buy, but the huge battery pack in the Silverado EVs.
That's how you get range.
Yeah, it's,
At least right now, because energy density isn't that large.
especially if you're towing, you can't rely on aero to help.
No.
Because now you've got a big unaerodynamic trailer. So at the end, you kind of just need a big battery. But Cybertruck has the smallest battery out of just about all of them, except I guess now the LFP Rivian is smaller capacity-wise. But still, I just think Tesla's going to turn this into Model Y/3 super cheap. Like, okay, the specs aren't amazing, but can you argue with the price? I think that's their long game with it. I think it'll get very, very cheap.
I'm very cynical on that, but we'll see.
But if
It's all about demand, right?
if not from Tesla, they will get cheap in third party aftermarket.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Tesla doesn't usually like keeping vehicles, like hoarding them in inventory. They would rather sell them at a loss than hold on to them. So if the demand dwindles, which it probably will, especially at this price,
It is.
then
At
they
least for a
will.
lot of it.
They'll just keep knocking it down until they find that fulcrum of, okay, we're selling a good amount and the demand is good at this
The
price.
fulcrum on the top of the Cybertruck.
Yeah, that once they find that sweet spot. I mean, that's what they do with the 3 and Y. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. So a few years ago, the price was much higher. That's when I bought, and now it's much, much lower.
Dummy.
Yeah,
You did the same with the Y.
I did.
And which I did the same
Trust-
at the very
and
beginning.
Brittany reminds me of it very often.
Mm-hmm.
Why did we buy this thing? Because we needed it in the moment. It was worth what it was priced at in the moment for us. She goes, yeah, but if I would have just waited 6 more months, I'm like, story of all things in tech, I guess.
that will always be the case.
Yep.
Pretty much. Like the tech is always getting cheaper and better in some regards. So I think most people have caught on to that. They figured out like, yeah, just wait a little longer. You'll save a bunch. But is this what I wanted to ask was, has all this experience scared you off from like you're not interested in buying another Tesla product ever again, or would you be open to it?
Of course you put me on the spot like this. Right here where I can't run away.
No, I mean
Actually,
that's
I
the
can.
big.
In
front of all
you
these
can.
people.
You could say I don't feel comfortable committing.
It's
But-
tough
No,
to
tell
say.
them the truth, Mike.
It's a
Tough to
fair.
say. There's a lot more exciting things on the market today than
Yeah.
there was 4
True.
years ago.
I agree.
4.5 years ago at this point.
Or coming to the market
Yes.
in the not too distant future.
There's a lot of things that are coming to the market that do pique
Like
my-
what?
My desktop wallpaper, the R3. I love
That I
freaking
can get
thing.
behind.
Yeah, but
I thought you were about to start working your marketing again.
to be fair, the same exact problems could happen with Rivian. Wouldn't
Could.
They are a startup
They are sort of, but
with one factory.
I feel like everybody is taking notes from Tesla first.
hopefully.
You can
But I
take
mean-
notes, but can you avoid falling into the same pitfall?
Well, things are.
I've seen a lot of.
Didn't we
Rivian-
just? Everything will have its problem, a different problem, but
Yes.
a problem.
Yes.
No vehicles.
I
Perfect.
just don't know what Rivian's problem will be when it comes to the R2, R3.
We don't know yet, but
Because the R1, for what it is, like in the pricing, I was like, well, I'll wait. And whatever we identify what those problems are, like I told you guys, so I say here on the record, I would not buy an R1 new. It would only be used. An R2, R3, depending on the price, we'll have that conversation. But I would like to see, and not just Rivian, really any of these vehicles later. I would like to know what their shortcomings are.
right. Yeah.
And we get to decide which shortcomings we're willing to tolerate.
right.
The thing with Teslas, they do have the shortcomings, even just in the overall like navigation experience and stuff like that. And those are things I'm willing to endure, because as of today and as of when we bought our cars, ain't nothing close to it.
Yeah.
Nothing's close to surpassing Tesla. Mainly for what I prioritize, which I think we all do, cost of charging. Efficiency is
Hard to
hard to beat.
Not just the cost, but the availability.
That too.
That's really hard. That's why I'm so pumped about NACS adoption. Is because
Sure.
it's like that. In my opinion, that's Tesla's biggest lead. Is the
Ask
charging.
me what you just asked Mike. When NACS has been fully adopted, am I committed to staying with Tesla or not? We will see.
Right. In which that's why we're seeing some of the horrors, in my opinion, of most recent news with Hyundai adopting the NACS port
Yeah.
on the Hyundai Ioniq 5, where they didn't move the port. They kept the port in the same location. They just changed out the shape.
Next
Yeah.
year.
And probably some of the
Next
wiring.
year. They'll fix it next year.
I'm just, for one, I'm happy that, okay, someone figured out, a supplier at least, they figured out how to mass produce a vehicle with an NACS port. That's a good sign. However, yeah, like that vehicle, ironically, might be like the most difficult to road trip with because most of the superchargers that are going to be open for non-Teslas are V3s, not the V3 Plus or the V4s, whatever you want to call them, which means you're going to occupy 2 stalls everywhere now. Or if you want to use EA, you need an adapter. So the announcement image showcased it with the V4 dispenser.
Right.
So that
Something
was
like that.
them excusing it as like, well, see, the cable's long enough here. You know, you can kind of see it. It's a
Yeah.
big V4 dispenser, but those are definitely not the norm yet. You know,
No.
they're much, much earlier. So, and that doesn't even address the higher voltage problem. If, for those who don't know, the Hyundai Ioniq vehicles are on an 800 volt architecture, and all the V3 and even the V4 superchargers so far are still based on the 400 volt / 500. It's basically 400 volt architecture, which means they peak out at like 100 kilowatts, even with the native NACS port. So it's like,
It's growing pains.
maybe they addressed that and they're not saying it. I mean, there's a chance they built in a converter box to the battery pack that maybe splits it so that it can get full speed, but they're not saying that yet. I hope
No.
they're doing that. There's a chance, I suppose, but
I think time will tell. Right. And this is only one of the companies. Hyundai Kia has been kicking butt in terms of sales.
yeah,
So I think they can afford, in this case, to offer a port that might not be the most optimized in location nor
Right.
in charging speeds.
right.
But it's still a decent product overall.
Yeah, they get good range and efficiency.
Well, just the interior as well is
Sure.
stomachable for many people. And like yourself, many loyal or legacy owners for this legacy auto company are willing to go back and give them the benefit of the doubt because
Yeah.
they've had such good experiences with that product.
Sure, they want to stay within their brand.
Yeah.
I get it. We've seen a lot of Ioniq 6s around here, actually.
There is a lot of Apple mice driving around.
Here it is. This is the
Yeah.
Ioniq 6.
It's here right now. We didn't
pretty
know it,
much-
but Randy bought one.
Your wife really hates it.
You're gonna out her like that? Yeah, she thinks it's the ugliest car.
I don't think she'd mind based on how
I don't think
confident
so.
she said.
She says it's the ugliest design.
Would do that? Why did they release it like that?
Makes you laugh every time you're in the car with
It's
her.
funny. Yeah, I love the passion. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
It's not her favorite. I don't even
I
know
don't
what her
mind the
favorite
look.
design is.
I just love a Mustang.
Well, yeah, but that's a guess. I was gonna say favorite
Oh,
looking
favorite
EV, in which is probably the R2 or the R1S.
Yeah,
But-
she saw it in person, right?
Yeah, she and I saw it in Santana Row in
And
San
her
Jose.
impressions were good.
She liked it.
Yeah.
She said I would get this if the Y died or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the same sentiment that I've been sharing on here as well.
Same as Louise. I showed her both. I showed her the R2 and the R3, and I was like, just looking at them, which one would you rather have? And she said the R2. And I was like,
R2 has a lot more. R2 has a lot more space.
it does.
Even between a Model 3 and a Model Y, it's greater than both of those. It's a little bit less than an R1S, but that's expected with the downscaling. and
I'm
size.
guessing the frunk is bigger.
I have to look at my photos again, but yeah, it probably
It's definitely higher hood.
it is taller because it's a toaster box, is what I call
Right.
it.
Yeah. No, I think something Randy and I were talking about earlier that I think I echoed to you is that a factor a lot of people don't talk about when I was thinking about Polestar I was like, let me look into these Polestar 2s after we went to the event and we just met everybody and all that. It was like, let me take a look at the pricing here. And one of the biggest deterrents for me was not so much the price or the range or anything. It was the location to service centers. And Aging Wheels brought that up in his review as well, which is, we talk about range and storage and pricing and all that, but we probably should acknowledge that a very subjective reason someone might pick one brand over another is how close is it to a service center? Because like you've experienced with the Y, things go wrong. It's just
things
a matter
that I
of,
can't deal with. Like I don't have the expertise nor the know-how.
No.
And I'm not going to touch it.
No,
Though I guess it's out of warranty at this point.
Yeah, it's out of warranty. You don't got the time, and it shouldn't be expected for you to fix every tiny little thing. So for a lot of buyers out there, I could totally understand paying more for an R2 or whatever, an R1, simply because they're closer to a service center.
Sure.
So that when something does happen, they don't have to tow for hours and hours, or they don't have to spend all this extra time waiting for it to get back. And, having something nearby could save a lot of time.
And money.
If
you have to hire a tow truck to take it. Even if it's not out of pocket from the company. I know with Polestar they were doing that for a while. I don't think they do it anymore.
I would be shocked if they did, because the closest one to me was like 2-3 hours away. And I was like, there's no way they would pay to...
You'd think they'd have more money since their CEO just left. Was that your doing?
I guess I must have offended him.
Do you know who this man is? He's the man who left.
That's Thomas. Yeah, I think I was wearing this shirt too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
This is the shirt that touched the Polestar CEO.
So there's Marquez with Fisker being the Fisker killer.
Yeah.
But I guess you're not killing Polestar.
Not killing him, but they're definitely changing.
Your shirt was so obnoxious and or revolting. He left.
He did not
company.
like it. He did not, no.
I mean, to be honest, or at least being honest with the whole entire situation, he probably was looking for something new at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
Those are kinds of things that usually aren't decided last minute.
You were in the right place and right time in terms of meeting the CEO.
Yeah.
To make it...
I get to say I met him.
Yeah.
I got the story out of it, but no, there's not much else after that. It's like...
I think the thing that comes after that's a little more interesting to me is the replacement CEO for Polestar has a lineage of startup companies. That
is interesting.
Well, I guess Opel's not... I don't know if they're a startup company. I'm not too familiar with Opel, which is a European brand.
Yeah.
And from my light research, it looks like they pretty much took a Chevy Bolt and then slapped on their logo. But he's been the CEO for... oh, goodness. What was it? It was VinFast.
Oh.
And Nikola.
Oh.
And now he's the CEO for Polestar.
I mean... Not to be rude, but that doesn't sound like a great track record. I mean, I don't know that much about VinFast, but I've heard
I
mixed
know
things.
enough about Nikola.
He wasn't the Trevor Milton CEO.
No.
So there was some other CEO before him, or I don't know.
I'd have to look into that more, whether he was the guy that Nikola chose to replace Trevor.
He might have
in which
been.
this is Michael Loscheller.
Huh.
Or however you pronounce that. But pretty much, I think that it's somewhat promising because he's seen what the Taiwanese... VinFast is from Taiwan, right?
I think it's Vietnam.
Vietnam.
Michael Loscheller.
Loscheller.
Loscheller. Anyways.
He's got experience.
Yeah, and that's a company
This is your fault.
We just talked about that.
I know.
I caused all this.
Sorry. Literally everybody got home at once.
Oh, that's great.
So I was like...
He was CEO of VinFast for 6 months.
Okay, so not too long. But, I mean, they've got a whole company behind them that runs a whole massive web of companies.
Yeah.
It's not just like, they're some weird startup that is trying to do something in Vietnam. No, it's a whole conglomerate. It's like... it'd be like Google making... Oh, wait, they do. Waymo.
Yeah.
But they don't sell the
taxi.
Waymos. But
Yeah.
the VinFast group or whoever does. But not Waymo. Anyways, being at Nikola interests me a lot more with Michael Loscheller or whatever. And now coming to Polestar and what he will bring. Because at least with Nikola, it was, let's consolidate everything that we got?
That's true.
Why do we have a
Badger.
jet ski,
Yeah.
a pickup truck, and all this stuff? Like, why are we trying to make all this?
Mm-hmm.
What do we have in terms of capital? What's going to be our best seller in terms of what our engineering team is working on right now with all their
Yeah.
passion? And that was hydrogen and electric powered semi-trucks.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
for a lot of this focus here, and then knowing the background of Thomas from Polestar, who's now since, or I think is going to be resigning soon.
Sorry,
Or stepping
everybody.
back.
You
Yeah.
just had to ask him those questions.
No,
He was
but
he was a designer at heart.
Yes.
Which answers a lot of our questions that we had when we both visited Polestar,
Uh-huh.
which was we've got all these weird in-between sized vehicles.
too many models.
Too
yeah.
many models. Like, what is this accomplishing, right? Why are we
Uh-huh.
going from 1 to 6? And you also had some of that concern as well. It's
Yeah.
like, why should I buy this? What's the interest factor compared to this, or like a Chevy Bolt or an Ioniq 5 or something like that?
Yeah.
Why should I buy a Polestar? I think that's the answer that Thomas has to answer. Or not Thomas, sorry, Michael
Right.
has to answer.
Laschler.
We
Yeah.
could just call him Michael.
He has
Michael
to.
L.
Right, L. We have to figure out how to consolidate and simplify their lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know. It might be too late in some ways because they just started the whole new factory for the 3 in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just got started, so I don't know how much he can change. Hopefully, he's there for the long haul. But
Well, the 3 makes sense because it's sharing that platform with the EX90 and
Oh, yeah.
something else that Geely Group is
Volvo
making.
uses it.
He might not be there for the long haul. It seems like from what you were reading his bio to me,
He might jump around a lot.
no, it sounds like his job is to fix. If the ship is sinking, I'm going to get it pointed in the right direction, and then he's going to go. He doesn't sound,
Yeah.
it's, at least so far with Nicola and all these other, like, it just, I'm gonna get us back on track, and then I'm gonna hand the reins over to somebody else who can
Yeah.
then go.
Sure.
Maybe that's his strength. He's like, I will get Polestar on track, and then I'm gonna go.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Polestar 5 gets canned.
Really,
Because it hasn't really officially been shown off too much, besides, I think, that one
No,
event in
there's-
LA.
Yeah, just a couple. But that's a shame because I know several people that are like, that's my favorite. Because that's supposed to be like the range one, right?
It's supposed to be the Model S competitor.
Yeah, like expensive but big battery and aerodynamic and
Dang.
yeah. But I think that's what the 2 or the 4 should be really. But
I think the 4 should be what replaces the 2. Even
yeah.
though that it's a little bit bigger. And
Uh-huh.
How about we rebrand and we just drop these number schemes if they're that insistent on that many of them?
The number scheme's an interesting question, mainly because, I mean, BMW's been using it for years as well.
Yeah.
Like the 3 Series, the 5 Series, the 4 Series, the 6 Series, and all that. 7 Series, too.
just anecdotally from telling people about meeting the CEO in my personal life, I would say the numbers aren't the problem. It's the name Polestar. Everyone is like, what? Is that what it's called?
Who makes that?
Who? What's that? Yeah. And there's some double meanings that people misinterpret when I tell them, have you heard of Polestar? And they're like,
Is this an app?
what are you into? I don't know. Like, that's, I would say, the bigger issue. But the logo's cool. And all
Oh no, I become too in the weeds. I don't get it. Is it a stripper thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You had it. You got it.
Because I'm like pole,
I like the-
pole dancing.
The graphic on the hat you got. And everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
There it
it's a
is.
cool look.
That's
It's a
great.
clean brand and
Yeah.
everything. But the name always, when I tell, like I told my aunt and I told my grandparents, like, we went to the Polestar event. And they're like, the what? Why did you do that? So that would be my first concern. But maybe it's too late for that.
She's
I
in
don't
her 70s. You don't need to be saying it.
Heart flutters
Yeah.
right there.
know. No, the vibe I got when we talked to all the employees there was they're a performance and handling and design focused brand above all else. It's not about range or efficiency or super low price, but maybe that was stemming from Thomas. So maybe now with change in leadership, it might become, okay, let's actually figure out how to move inventory here and
Sure.
be more competitive. 'Cause,
Become bigger than Volvo, potentially.
ooh, yeah, that would be cool.
That'd be one heck of a goal.
That would be
Shut your
difficult.
mouth.
Volvos.
I was just thinking, like, my ideal EV. I think we've done this before. I don't know, but I want to gauge your guys's. My ideal is I would want.
I'll tell you mine.
Get that off your face.
Green sunglasses?
Yeah. The logo rubbed off.
Oh yeah, I don't even know what it is. Is that Aptera?
Yeah.
Rude. Absolutely rude. My ideal EV would be the integrated system, like proprietary software and overall like passion that's in Rivian. Maybe even some of the design language, but never putting that part aside, with the cleanliness of the brand logo of Polestar. Not the name.
It's the brand logo. That's what.
Maybe. No, but the vehicles look... All the white things I've been seeing, all those vehicles that... Like what you were documenting, I'm like, those are clean. That's a clean looking thing. The safety of Volvo, like, it's a sort of safety. But then let's say the safety of Tesla, because technically I think it now beat Volvo for the safest vehicle.
Yes.
With on the market... with the most efficient charging of Tesla, of the network and its charging capabilities. To me, if I can get a little bit of all that in one... one more bonus. Give me the hear me out, the openness of Ford that they were willing to incorporate
Advertising.
CarPlay.
Oh, CarPlay.
Give you I want the proprietary to be awesome and the proprietary thing be priority, but the fact that CarPlay, when I say I want CarPlay, if not, make the proprietary software run Apple Maps. That's what I want. I don't want Google.
That'd be
I want
a nice
Apple.
compromise.
Yeah, we drove around in your 3 and Y. You didn't want to do anything with the screen. I was poking it. You're like, no, don't touch it. But I don't want anything going on.
I don't like it.
No navigating with Google.
I genuinely do not like Google Maps or it's any of that stuff. So, on the software sense, the open willingness to do CarPlay, whether that's like next gen or whatever it is, like or give me Apple Maps on your proprietary software. Mm-hmm. To me, that's the perfect. Not talking design or how much it seats or the colors, like all that's whatever. It's
sure.
Anecdotal, doesn't really matter. But just at the foundation, that's the perfect EV. And maybe I'm stretching because perfect is also subjective, but that's what I look for. What about you guys?
It's a valid criticism because I saw when Rivian finally launched their version of premium connectivity. Mm-hmm. It's called Connect Plus or something. Everyone's like, can you please add CarPlay? And Rivian's like, no, we would rather do it all ourselves in-house because we think that's better. But then in order to access all of the navigation and streaming features, that's now a $15 a month membership. Everyone was kind of like, well, on other cars, I just use CarPlay, and then all the music is up there, and the Apple Maps and the satellite view is all up there, and I don't have to pay a membership to use CarPlay, usually, unless it's BMW or someone.
I think they dropped it. They
were like, that's weird.
Yeah, they dropped that.
I think it's not just the feature, but also the like, I'm already paying for all those features on my phone. Just let me move the navigation software and the music streaming software I already have here onto there, whereas people take the no CarPlay thing as, no, it's okay. You'll just pay us to do that. It's no, I don't want to pay you.
I'm grandfathered in where I won't ever have to pay for any of that stuff. Where like now vehicles, last year or 2 years ago, that now after 10 years you're going to pay for.
We don't know yet. It's because it hasn't been long enough. But yeah, it was around when I got my car. They changed the rule to say after 8 years you don't get standard connectivity. Mm-hmm. But no one knows what that means. Like, what happens if you don't have standard? Does that mean you have to pay for premium? Or that can't be because
the screen turns into a giant ad at that point. Ford and Tesla work together on the patent.
It's just that I'm trying to figure out what the UI would look like. Because even with standard connectivity, you do use cell data.
Yes.
Because that's how you find out how many chargers are available at the supercharger. Or when you plug in nav data, you plug in a restaurant, you tap on it, and you see the reviews. That's all still...
Or just basic mapping, routing.
Yeah, and they say that's included with standard. So what happens if it's not standard, Like,
even over the air? Over the air updates is using cell.
I don't know. I'm trying to visualize what the screen would do. It's just a giant visualizer.
That's what I'm thinking.
There's no maps at all.
Maybe it just helps you... Maybe it'll just route you to superchargers.
And that's it.
It doesn't give you any information about the superchargers.
You don't know if it's full or...
Like, I'm thinking about how more bare can you make it? Like, it's...
That almost sounds not worth it to me. Or they might just... You can do all the normal things if you hotspot. Like you have to pull all the data from the phone or something. I don't know.
Another version of just using CarPlay. The manufacturer that ends up not charging you to just have what is considered standard operating features for your vehicle.
Yeah.
That's the one I think that would win my business, 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
If I have to pay just to use the features. Oh God, I just had an ugly thought. I was about to say like, then maybe the EV future isn't for me because they wouldn't do that on the gas vehicles. They don't do it right now on the gas vehicles.
Well, the patent didn't exclusively say EVs.
I wouldn't go to
They
Ford.
might start. Yeah, they might.
No,
they
I'm
might
just,
bring
I'm
it
just,
to gas.
I buy an old. I don't know. I don't like that vision. I didn't like.
You're
that
saying
thought.
buy things before then, so that way it doesn't have the capability of showing an ad,
No,
or something that just doesn't have a screen.
No, not necessarily the ads. I'm saying that like, if we're going down a route that because Tesla's already started that initiative to do that 8 years from now. If we're going down that route where even you won't have standard connectivity, who's to stop? Who's to stop either Tesla or anybody else from retroactively doing the same thing to their own product line?
Mm-hmm.
But somebody somewhere, albeit Polestar or maybe an inevitable or eventual Aptera, Telos, somebody who's exclusively EV will be the anti that. And that's the one I'll work with. Because I don't like the idea of like, again, software locking or ad locking a utility does just not make sense to me.
Yeah.
When you want more features out of your utility, you buy a higher tier of that utility. You don't lose something that you've had. I really hope no manufacturer goes that route. That's bad, especially when you're trying to like. And why I think it'd be an EV only company is because you're not going to see somebody who's trying to get market share give you a reason not to want to come to them.
Yeah.
And there's no way you sell that and it's not a deterrent about like, hey, standard connectivity after 5 years or 8 years or whatever, you'll lose that. Okay, bye. You know what I mean? I totally get the premium stuff. I don't need to have the premium stuff. I probably wouldn't use it. I just Bluetooth everything anyway.
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with it so far. Now that I have it, I thought I wanted it. Now I'm not sure because that display is already pretty busy, and I realized it's kind of easier actually to choose the music on the phone because it doesn't have to take over the nav. And the UI for the music is just not as.
Is it like
clean.
Apple Music?
It's not as clean. Like when you search things, it kind of intermixes different memberships. You get Spotify results and YouTube Music results.
Oh right, yeah.
And I was like, oh no, I want it on music. I want it on YouTube Music. I don't want it on Spotify. And yet it kept giving me Spotify results. And
Sure.
I was like, okay. Now I'm kind of like using a music player on an Android tablet. It doesn't feel the same as just leaving the phone on and just having the music right there or having someone else be able to choose it or make a playlist from their phone. Like on the road trip, you were Bluetoothing
The whole time.
from your phone pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
And that was arguably more convenient.
Yeah.
So,
Unless we wanted to listen to Axel F.
yeah, we had to pull that off Spotify. Yeah. So I think the smaller brands would probably have less to benefit from the ads.
Yeah.
So they might be less likely to do it because they're like, we have a small, passionate fan base. We'll just cater to them and try to keep them happy.
Oh God, the OnePlus effect, and then eventually they'll sell out.
Yeah.
Every time there's a passionate fan base, the event,
Right.
you die a hero or.
Right. I just think the brands that sell at super high volume would be more interested in advertising.
But not just advertising, taking away standard connectivity, whatever their version of. That's my issue.
Uh-huh.
I might, complain and groan about maybe ads eventually, and it is what it is. And like you said, I get unsolicited. Hey, did you know what Tesla did? Every time I open up the app, I'm like, go away, whatever. It's annoying. I get it with Apple in the OS, like get out of here.
iCloud storage.
I hate all that. It just randomly like, hey, rate this app. No. You're a proprietary, like you're like a default app. I'm not gonna rate you, but so you get it there. But the line is like, don't take away at least the bare minimum just to be functional.
Sure.
And like I think GPS on an EV seems to be like that's standard. Don't take away the standard because then when you take away the standard, what is it? What's left? What's under standard? What's next? Nothing.
I wonder if it's a liability thing, like will the GPS stop working after a certain point, and they don't want to commit to fixing it for free?
It's almost like Android committing to 7 years of software support in a way.
Like they could say, we promise it'll work for at least this long, but if you own this car for 30 years, we may not have the parts needed to...
Planned obsolescence.
I don't even know if it's planned. It's just unplanned longevity. It's like the chip they need in our current Teslas to do GPS. They might not always have that in stock for decades. So maybe they're just putting a year on standard connectivity just so that they can cover themselves of like, if you brought your Model 3 in 20 years from now, be like, hey, I can't navigate. They'd be like, well, we're sorry, we don't have that part anymore because we stopped making that we stopped using that type of GPS 10 years ago. Sorry.
It's going to cost you $2,000 to try to integrate the new hardware.
I'd pay $2,000 over getting a new car.
True.
But do they want to...
Your car loses actually a lot more range at that point as well. Because now it's using more power that's not optimized for your circuit board and everything else.
I wouldn't be surprised if you brought like a Newton to an Apple store. And you were like, this isn't working. And they're like, sorry, we don't have the parts to fix that.
Yeah, it's like bringing a Model T to a Ford dealership.
After a certain number of years, they might just be like, we don't know.
Yeah, but right to repair. You could do those things yourselves. They were easier to fix. A Model T is easy to fix anywhere. A Model Newton... the Model Newton
it gets
can
much
fix.
more enthusiast at that point. The Model,
Yeah.
I think there's probably a bit of both. They're looking at revenue streams, but also, wait a minute, we've been committing to lifetime standard connectivity, which technically means lifetime cellular connection of some kind. That might get expensive if someone is driving this thing in 40 years and is like, hey, I need the 10G chip. Come on. It's like, it's not showing it that you said that was included. I don't know.
I get it.
That's my theory. But
any final thoughts?
I'm excited for Rivian. I want them to make it. Tello is considering everything you just said.
Thanks for the inside information on... Yes, you know all the things we talked about? Tello's thinking about
I'm not going to say how. I'm just saying they're thinking about the size, the charge ports, the CarPlay, all that. Repairability.
Can't wait until that news comes out.
I think it just did. Ish.
We'll be watching you with great interest.
I didn't get to say for tech, but this is cool. We got to do this in person.
Yeah.
I like that we did this. I hope you guys listening or watching like this more in person. The dynamic obviously changes when there isn't a latency issue and then we're talking over each other.
You're breaking up.
What?
I can't hear you.
Huh? Oh, he's Starlinking again. Remember when we used to say that? Starlinking?
Just physically Starlink.
Now we're just that's just called parenthood. But I like that we got to do this. I like that you guys came out to my abode and we made a cool... we just did something. This layout, if you're watching on YouTube, is... I keep looking, it's like, I like this layout. How can I incorporate this to my own?
Just get 2 more people somehow.
Just put dummies of us here.
You could have cardboard cutouts.
People will think I'm insane. Okay, I need you guys to...
They think that now.
I'm insane? Yeah. Just stare at the camera long enough so I can grab a still of you and...
Thanks for having us.
I will make a cutout. Yeah. And I hope while we were doing all this, you can enjoy the bipolarness of what's going on. It hasn't hit us yet.
I know. I keep waiting for my free car wash.
It should happen. You paid for it in somehow, some way.
Not a car wash.
No, it's a car wet.
And I'm also excited for Rivian. Just in general.
All right. Good luck, Michael L. Fixing Polestar.
We're rooting for you.
Hopefully you never have to meet me.
It'll be the end of your career.
Yeah, that's
at
when
Polestar.
we know he's going to retire. All right.
On this note, I'm retiring after this episode because I met Drew in person.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.